Hello and welcome to Module 4, Lesson 9. Today we're going to be working with fractions, of course, and we're going to be doing division. Now this can get a little confusing for kids, but I think if we move slowly, you'll be able to follow along. Let's start by thinking about what we know about division and what it is. Let's say we're doing 8 divided by 2. Okay, you all know the answer, but let's think about what that means. Let's say we've got like 8 little balls, okay, and we want to divide by 2. So we're going to draw some groups of 2 here. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. How many groups did we make? 1, 2, 3, 4. So 8 divided by 2, as you already knew, is 4. Okay? We could also do that though on a number line. Let's say this is 0, this is 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hey, I did that pretty well. I'll go ahead and number these if this makes you feel better. And we could use this model also to do division. We just have to think of it as making sort of a hop of 2. So it's how many hops of 2 instead of groups of 2 are going to get us to 8. Here it was how many groups of 2 got us to 8. Down here, we're going to hop. Let's use a new color. So, boom. See how I hop from 0 to 2? That's a 2 hop. Boom, another 2 hop. Boom, boom. How many hops did we make? 4. Okay? That's really obvious, I know, when we're talking about nice, easy whole numbers. But let's look at the same idea if we're using a fraction. This time I'm going to do 8 divided by 1/2. Now with the ball method, that really doesn't make a lot of sense. See, I've got 8 balls, and I'd have to divide them into groups of 1/2. Well, I don't have halves in that, so I'm not even sure how we do that. Let's go ahead and get out a number line instead. So here's my number line again. 0, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That one's not as pretty, sorry. And now let's think about, instead of groups, making those hops that are just 1/2 of a unit. Okay, so like 1/2 would be to here. And I think to do that, we should probably mark in those half marks. So here's 1/2, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, 7.5. There we go. So let's count those hops now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Took me 16 hops. So I know that 8 divided by 1/2 equals 16. All right? Let's see what happens if we want to divide 8 by 1/3. Again, I'm not going to deal with the balls and the groups because I just don't think that's easy to see. We're going to make a number line again. Go from 0 to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But this time, I need thirds. So let me draw those in. I hope you're cool with me not numbering the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think you can see them here. You know, it'll be like that. And let's go ahead and count the hops when we do little 1/3 hops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. That was a lot of hops. That's exhausting. So when we were dividing by 12, we got 16. Divided by 1/2, we got 16. Divide by 1/3, we get 24. What do you think is going to happen? I'm just going to move this up a little. What's going to happen if we divide by 1/4? Do you think I'll get more hops, fewer hops, or the same? Well, let's see. Get this number line up here. Ooh, it's going to be tricky to fit. Here's 0. Here's 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I got to divide these in fourths now. Woof. Let's see. 1, 2. Okay. These are not very well drawn, but you're going to get the idea. I promise you, between each of these whole number lines, I've got 4 sections. And we'll go ahead and hop it. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Ah, that got so messy. If it hadn't been messy, trust me, I would have had 32 hops. Has anyone seen the pattern yet? 8 divided by 1/2 is 16. 8 divided by 1/3 is 24. And 8 divided by 1/4 is 32. Give me a second to look at that. If you're still not getting it, take a look at my first factor, 8, and my denominator. Oh, that's right. Some of you clever monkeys are noticing that 8 times 2 equals 16, 8 times 3 equals 24, and 8 times 4 equals 32. Get ready for it. Here it is, the big trick for division by fractions. When you want to divide by a fraction, like we did with 8 divided by 1/2, all you really have to do is do 8 times 2. Okay? Look at this. I took this guy and I turned him upside down. I multiply across. 8 times 2 is 16. I've got a 1 in my denominator, so it just is 16. I promise you, it works every time I want to divide by 1/4. Well, that's really the same as multiplying by 4 over 1. And in fact, we can just forget these 1s under here. Okay? So if you are dividing by a fraction, multiply and flip it. It will work every time. But what happens if we want to, instead of divide by a fraction, what if we have a fraction and we're going to divide it by a whole number? Well, think of it this way. Let's say you've got 3 pans of brownies, okay? And you've also got 3 friends. Well, that's pretty obvious. It's 3 divided by 3. Each friend is going to get 1 pan of brownies. What if you got 1 pan? Well, now you've got 1 divided by 3. And we know that's the same as the fraction, 1/3. So each friend gets 1/3 of a brownie. But what if, instead of having 1 pan, you've got half a pan and 3 friends? Well, for this one, I think we better draw that out. Here's my pan. Cut it in half. Okay. This is how much I have, half a pan. But my 3 friends want to share that. So I have to cut my half into thirds. Okay. What portion of the whole pan is each friend going to get? Because each friend's going to get one of these pieces I cut. Well, how many pieces do we have overall? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So each friend is getting one of those. Each friend gets 1/6 of a pan. So we had 1/2. We divided by 3. And we got 1/6. Okay? Can we see a pattern here at all? Well, we said before that when you divide with a fraction, you want to multiply by the inverse. So even though the fraction is over here, that could still be true. Let's look at that. 1/2, and instead of dividing, I'm going to multiply by the inverse. This is 3 over 1, remember? So I'm going to flip it on its head and make it 1/3. And look what I get. Okay? You can also think of it as I've got half the pan of brownies, and I've got to divide that in 3. That's like getting a denominator of 3. I got to get 3 down here, chopping it into 3 pieces. And that also is going to yield me 1/6. If you're not quite sure of this, we can look at another example. What if instead of a half a pan, what if we've got 1/3 of a pan and 3 friends? Okay, so that'd be like 1/3 divided by 3. Well, let's look at our pan. It's a terrible pan, but you get it. This is how much of the pan I have. These are my brownies over here. I ate the rest of them. My 3 friends want some, so I got to split that into 3. I've now got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I've got ninths, and each friend is getting one of those ninths. That's a very reasonable portion of brownies there. So 1/3 divided by 3 equals 1/9. Okay, and it's like we know that the denominator is division, right? This means divided by. So it's like I'm just adding this guy over here. 1/9. Let's try that one more time, just a little more abstractly. Instead of brownies, we're just going to say we've got 1/5. Do you see that? That was me dragging my finger and making marks. That's confusing. Okay, we've got 1/5 here, and we're going to divide it by 2. Think of it this way. I'll make some fifths here. I've got 1/5. And I want to divide it by 2. I've just got to go and cut it in half. The question is, what do I get? What is this guy called? Well, this, to see what portion this is of the whole, I've really got to split all of my fifths in half. Count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This guy here is 1/10. So that's how it works visually. I'm showing you how it works, but I don't expect you to draw a diagram every time. I just want you to take 1/5 and know that dividing by 2 is the same thing as multiplying by 2 in the denominator, or multiplying by the inverse of 2, which means you put 2 down here and 1 up here. Same thing, I get 1/10 every time. I always like to wrap up with a little word problem. Let's say we've got a glass pitcher. See if I can draw that. Yeah, a glass pitcher. And it's full of water. 1/8 of the water, so 1/8 here, is going to be poured equally into 2 glasses. And I want to know what fraction of the water in my pitcher is going to go in each of those glasses. Okay? So let's think of our whole pitcher here. And it says we're talking about 1/8 of it, so I'm going to make eighths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is the water that is going to go into 2 glasses. So if it's going into 2 glasses, I know I'm basically splitting this water in half. Each glass is getting one of these. This guy's going in here. The question is, what is this new unit I've made? Well, I've split this eighth into 2. I could split all my eighths into 2. I count up all those spaces there, I'm going to get 16ths. I've got one of them. So each glass is getting 1/16. We can do that without the big diagram. We just say 1/8 is getting divided by 2. So I can either say that I'm multiplying my denominator by 2, or that I'm multiplying the whole fraction by the inverse of 2, by 2 flipped on its head. Either way, I get 1/16.